Hi, I'm Christopher Robinson. Welcome to the 21 Pilots Podcast. What is going on, everybody? I hope you are keeping warm. I'd also like to wish everybody a Happy New Year, and I hope your holidays were fantastic. There hasn't been anything newsworthy to report within the world of 21 Pilots since the last episode, so you just got to hang tight during this hiatus. Hey, why not listen to some of the other episodes of the 21 Pilots podcast to hold you over? This is usually the spot where I would start throwing out my social media and telling you how to contact me, but I actually think I'm going to stop doing that. I think you know how to get a hold of me. I mean, if you found the podcast episode, it has all the contact information there. So with that, I want to thank everybody for listening and keep spreading the word about the podcast. I mean, I really do appreciate it, and I always appreciate it when I get stuff from you guys and I read it, even if I don't have time to get back to you. Obviously, I do my best. So that's that. Okay, so moving on to what you are here for. I brought you guys 2 discussions with Chris, and today I will be talking to Nick Thomas. Nick was hard for me to track down. I have to say I'd probably spent months trying to just find him somehow. I don't know how I did it, but it was really tough. And I think I found him on Facebook, and I sent him messages, and it was just really hard to find him. And then out of the blue, I think after the episode I did with Chris, Nick reached out to me. I don't remember if it was through Twitter or if it was through Facebook. I'm not really sure, but we got a hold of each other, and he's a great dude. I had a wonderful conversation, and it felt amazing just to be talking to him because it was so hard to find him in the first place. And I knew he was somebody that people would want to hear from because he was somebody that I wanted to hear from. So before we get started, I want to plug his Twitter handle, and you can find him on Twitter at RealPooTom. I don't know where he came up with that at all, but it's at RealPooTom. There you go. You'll hear it in the episode, but he said that he wants to kind of follow what people think about the discussion and just if you guys enjoyed it and what you thought of the podcast and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty much it. Please enjoy my conversation with original bassist and founding member of 21 Pilots, Nick Thomas.
Hey, Christopher.
Hey, Nick. What's going on, man?
Not much. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I really appreciate. First, I want to start off by saying I really appreciate you doing this for me.
Oh, absolutely. I was thrilled when you asked me to be a part of this.
Oh, totally. You were tough to track down, man.
I don't do a ton with social media in the first place, and so I didn't see a lot of messages for a long time. I probably have a lot of people that I could go through and say, hey, sorry, it's been a month since you sent me a message. How are you?
Totally, man. It makes us more sweet, like the tough guy to get. I got him. All right, here. I guess to start this off, let me ask you, how did you meet Tyler? Because from my understanding, you guys were childhood friends.
Yeah, Tyler and we go back probably to when we were younger than we actually knew. We were in each other's kind of atmospheres from a very young age because of basketball, little league basketball stuff. He and his family are always big into basketball, and my parents made me play basketball because I was tall and I wasn't really any good at it, but we did a lot of basketball stuff together when we were real young.
How tall are you?
Well, I'm 6'4" now. I wasn't quite that tall then, but I was. So I knew of Tyler Joseph for a long time, but when I transferred into his school in 8th grade, and we started going to school together then, and we went to school together all the way through high school. We probably became really good friends in high school.
Well, that's really cool. So you guys just kind of like floated through life together in a way.
Yeah, a
It's
little
pretty neat.
bit. We started having classes together pretty often. We started doing a lot of the same things. We were in high school choir together. We sang in different capacities together. And then basketball. We played varsity basketball together in high school. And then graduated together. And by then we were starting to tinker around with music together. We did a lot, probably junior and senior year of high school. We did a lot of music together in school. We sang together a lot in school. And then senior year, we started just by ourselves, kind of playing some stuff together. He had some real early on songs that he had written that I played some guitar on.
Oh, you
And
might answer a
yeah.
question I had then. The early stuff, the No Fun Intended CD for
Hmm.
purposes of the internet. There's some guitar bits on there, and I've been wondering where they've come from. So that was most likely you then.
Yeah, probably. I don't even know. I don't know what No Fun Intended entails as far as what songs are on there, but I did probably play on a few of them.
There's a track called Save, but
Yeah,
there's a bunch of them.
yeah,
So, it has that Taco Bell Saga song that the
yeah,
internet goes crazy
yeah. To
for.
this day, unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't get it, but what are you gonna do? It's one of those things. But there is guitar on it, and I had asked Chris if you guys, at any point in the band, had a guitar player or considered getting a guitar player, and I guess the answer was no to that one.
Well, the very, very first time we ever played a show, we weren't even going under the name 21 Pilots. Uh, there was a guy that played guitar with us that night. That was a one-time thing. We never used a guitarist again after that.
Oh, okay.
Um, Not because it didn't go well, it's just because different things going on, and it was
Right.
just the three of us that decided that the band was what we wanted to do.
Yeah, it totally. I mean, I play guitar, so like I was like, oh wow, there's out of everything I've heard, there's actually a guitar on some of the stuff, and it was really nice sounding, and I was kind of just wondering what the idea was behind that. If there was somebody kind of lingering around in the background at some point who obviously isn't with you guys anymore, or with the band anymore, or any of that stuff. So you started playing together. I mean, at what point did you kind of think, oh, why don't we do something with this and go play in front of people? And
Well, Tyler and Chris had been working on some stuff. At the time, Chris was living in a house where they ran a recording studio, and he and Tyler had become friends at a party we had all been at through a mutual friend in high school, and they met there and started talking music. Chris was looking for an outlet to play drums again because he had just moved here recently, and so they started working together. They started recording some of this rough stuff that Tyler had at Chris's studio, and they wanted to play a show. So Tyler asked me, he said, do you think you could play a bass? I had never played a bass. He said, do you think you could play a bass? And I said, I'll give it the winner's effort. I don't know. Chris had a bass. So I came over, we rehearsed some songs. I picked up the bass and played along with them. And I think 2 or 3 days after that, we played our first show, we weren't calling ourselves 21 Pilots yet, but that was the first time we played together.
so from day one, was there the backing track on the computer?
Yeah.
Like the idea to run those tracks alongside you guys playing live?
Yeah.
Cool. I was kind of wondering how that came about. Like, at what point was that decision made to use the computer backing tracks? Because I think it's a great and a great and also a bold decision.
Yeah.
Because so many bands just assume, okay, we have to just play these instruments, in front of people, and that the backing track thing could be frowned upon. Which, from talking to Chris, it sounded like there were some backhanded comments that you guys may have gotten in the beginning.
Yeah. One of the one of the great ones we always got was, you guys are really good for a band that doesn't have a guitarist.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
It's like, thank you.
I think the person that says that doesn't realize, that it could be taken that way, because it definitely is before you guys, like the template was set with like a band like Ben Folds 5 or something, where you have the bass and the drums and the guitar and the keyboard, and
Right.
that's what you perform with.
And
So it was kind of cool.
yeah, there was definitely never any malicious intent behind those comments. They made us laugh after the fact because it sounds, when you think about it, it sounds almost backhanded. They didn't mean it. It was unusual for a band to not have a guitarist.
Oh
We were
yeah.
playing in Columbus, and I'm sure Columbus is not exclusive to this, but at the time, I don't know what the scene is like now, but at the time, Columbus was just saturated with metal bands and hardcore bands.
Okay.
So every bill we fell into, we were playing. We were sandwiched in between these metal bands, and we just didn't fit. And I think that was a big reason why people noticed us.
Yeah, well, going into that as like a musician, did you feel uncomfortable? Like, oh, I don't know how these people are going to take us. Like, this could go south. Or was it like you didn't even consider it? You just pushed it aside and knew that you were going to win them over.
I don't know that we were nervous about that, um, just because Tyler and I especially had a lot of people and friends that we knew in Columbus. We were able to bring a lot of people out to see our shows that were just
Okay.
acquaintances of ours, so
So you stacked the deck a little bit.
yeah. Yeah, we kind of padded the numbers just with our,
I like
out of
that.
our own Facebook friend lists and stuff like that.
That's a smart idea. I mean, everybody always tries to get their friends to come to see them. Although some people also don't like that because they feel like it's going to be tough to perform in front of people who may have not have seen them do that, and they get nervous over it. So it definitely can be used to your advantage if you're, if you don't worry about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you get the people next to you that are kind of like who aren't with that group, being like maybe opening up their ears and their minds a little bit to say, oh, other people can like this. This isn't as bad as me by myself may think it would be.
Yeah. When we had our parents and aunts and uncles and former teachers coming to shows, and those people never would have come if we were a metal band, So we had a little advantage there that we were able to bring in some people that probably wouldn't be going out to clubs to see shows otherwise.
So from day one, did you guys play a full set of like your original music, or was it mostly covers?
We did some covers. Yeah, we definitely did some covers early on. At the time, we were just playing 20, maybe 30-minute sets. So we filled that up a lot with original music from Tyler. But we did through a cover every now and then.
I ask because from like the low ant level, like I'm like a guy who's just playing on the street on like the weekends and stuff like that, and you get like that 20 minutes. My go-to would be to play my own music because that's your chance to get people to listen to something you've created.
Right.
And but I've heard from others that they look down upon that. And why do people want to hear your music? So it's always one of those things where I like to talk to other musicians about like what their opinion is on that topic.
Yeah. Well, from day one, Tyler just had extraordinary music for us to play. I mean, he had just written great songs.
Right.
And the day that I came in, I thought, this really has a chance to be something special because he just had great songs from the very beginning. So he had a lot of material for us to play, even from the very first show. So we did a lot of original stuff from right out the gate. But we did throw in a cover every now and then.
Yeah, I mean, if it's anything like what's done now on stage, there's a unique take to that cover. It's not just your straight up, normal,
Right.
straightforward type of cover. So, what were your thoughts though the first time you heard Tyler's like original songs? I mean, it's definitely a big trust thing when somebody opens up to you and here's something
absolutely.
I've created. So, obviously, when he cut No Fun Intended, that was in high school. So.
Mm-hmm.
A while ago is when you had heard those songs, and like, what was your reaction to it? I mean, that was before there was really a band or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, were your thoughts like, oh man, I really would like to play with this guy, or was it,
Well, when he first played me those songs, I hadn't considered playing them as a band. It was just his own work. And I was honored that he wanted to play them for me. Tyler and I bounced musical ideas off each other all the time. We worked really well together with music. We both loved music. We liked a lot of the same artists. So it was kind of a natural musical bond there going on. And I was just wildly impressed the first time he played me some tracks that he had, that he had been in the process of. So when he had the idea for us to try to put something together and play them in a live setting, I was all in. I was so excited.
Yeah, he's definitely got a unique talent there with this the way he's able to construct a song that sounds like it's so many different songs at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to get tired. I mean, especially today, a lot of the songs that there's just you hear it in the first minute, you've heard the whole song. You don't have to even sit and listen to the rest of it. And like with the stuff he writes, it definitely it pulls the rug out from under you. And it's like, no, you're staying here. You're not going anywhere because of that. And it's unique. And it's for me, it's nothing like I've ever heard before. So I can only imagine just seeing that in high school.
Yeah, it's really a testament to being open to musical influence from any direction. You know, it's easy to get in a rut and just play the same genre all the time because that's all you listen to or that's all you're influenced by. But
yeah,
you know, Tyler was going from Coldplay to the Killers to the Beatles to Bob Marley, just deriving influence from all over the map, and that shows. Yeah, that comes through in his music.
Yeah, it's definitely suited him well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of my questions was going to ask how soon you guys played live from when you started practicing, but it sounds like the reason to practice was to play the live show.
Yeah, it was a matter of days. I think I don't know. I can't remember the specific details from all the way back, but I think that they were going to do it anyway. I think that they had already booked it, and they just asked me to play bass.
So they were just going to do the traditional, as we know now, the traditional 21 Pilots setup of a piano player and a drummer.
Yeah, kind of.
That's cool.
So I think the gig was already booked, and they were just hoping that I'd come along and play bass, and I was thrilled to.
So can I ask how soon from there that was then that you guys played? You guys not played, but you guys started to say we gotta get these tracks recorded, man. And we got to get them down. Like I know from what I can understand, Chris, when you guys moved into the house together, Chris brought a lot of like the recording equipment with him.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the band would have never begun if it weren't for Chris Solly. I mean, he came into the picture with a lot of know-how that we didn't have, a lot of knowledge that we didn't have, a lot of gear that we didn't have, a lot of just understanding about production. You know, because he worked at Guitar Center,
right? And
he lived with guys that ran a recording studio, and he'd been in a band a lot, you know, through his life when he was in Texas. So he just came into it with way more expertise than we had. We were rookies at it, and he kind of carried the weight in the beginning.
I think one of the biggest compliments is like the final product and the final what we have now, the final piece of self-titled. I thought you guys did that in a studio. Like I heard that, oh no, it was done in like a basement or whatever. But I mean, just to my own ears, I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me. Like it sounds like they went somewhere and recorded it. And then having talked to Chris and just hearing, no, it was self-recorded. But hearing that he's the guy like with the knowledge, I mean, that is a huge compliment because it sounds to me like money spent to go to a studio. Like the production quality, I think is great for something that was do it yourself.
Yeah, it was that whole self-titled record was in the loft of our house that we lived in. So yeah, Chris really helped us get our foot in the door with production and recording, because I especially had no idea. I had never done that.
Right.
And I think Tyler had been doing it on his laptop. So Chris introduced a more professional setting to us and kind of showed us the ropes there.
What do you remember about that recording process? How long do you remember it taking? You know, did you come in and play your bass into like an interface that went into the computer, or you know, how did you guys like go about it? Yeah. How did you figure out what you were going to record for the CD, or like how'd that all go?
We didn't go into, you know, we didn't have a bunch of songs together that we were thinking this is going to be a record. We were just working on songs. Tyler was writing songs. He was playing for us. We were learning them. And then, you know, after we had a bunch of them together, it was a while really before we thought, you know, let's make these into an actual record. You know, we had little 3 or 4 song demos that we put out to clubs and stuff so they had an idea of who we were, trying to book shows. But it was a while before we really had the thought to compile everything we had into a record. So, and as far as the recording process, a lot of the bass was digital, done MIDI through a keyboard, and quite a bit of it was done me plugged in through the interface too. But Tyler had kind of the skeleton of a lot of the songs done, and then we would kind of use those to rehearse and come up with parts, and then we'd put them after we had learned the songs and rehearsed them, and sometimes even played them live. Then we would sit down and put them onto a track.
Were any of them, I asked Chris this, and I know it's tough because it wasn't like it was just yesterday, so it's not easy. I don't even remember what I did last week. So Tyler, when he brought in songs, was there ever any opportunity to like, oh, this isn't finished yet, but like, what do you guys think we should maybe do here? Was there any kind of like collaboration in putting, like, I know the lyrics are all Tyler from what I went from speaking to Chris, but
oh, absolutely.
So absolutely, there were pieces, because it's not easy putting a song together. I know that from personal experience. So I know if you had somebody to bounce ideas or ask suggestions off to, that would be a huge help. So I was kind of wondering if that was something that you guys did do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We did that a lot. And Tyler had a vision about how he wanted his songs to be. But it was all the time that he would say, what should we do here? How do we fill this in? How do we fill in sound? Where should this part of the song go? There was a lot of back and forth.
There's a lot going on in those tracks.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'd have to have thought that it would have had some input from others. Did you do any like backing vocals or anything like that for either that or Regional at Best?
Self-titled, yes. Not on Regional at Best, but I did on self-titled. I think all three of us are on singing at one part on I think Trapdoor. I think.
Okay. I know there was some question as if there was another voice on the CD, so that's cool. That's cool. I know Chris sings too.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I was like, oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, he's a terrific singer. A lot of people may not know that, but he's got a great voice.
Yeah, definitely. I had no idea.
We tried, especially in concert, we tried to throw in 3-part harmony every now and then.
When it's done right, man, it sounds so good.
Yeah, our dads really liked that. So
I
gotta keep the dads happy,
Oh, I had probably like that retro, Beatlesque, vibe to it.
Yeah.
Totally. I feel like Not Today off of Blurry Face has a nice Beatles vibe to it, because the Beatles and Oasis, as a lot of listeners know, are my favorite band. So it's like the Beatles of today and the actual Beatles.
Sure.
But yeah, I love it, and to actually hear that like sprinkled throughout some of my favorite bands that are around today, it's nice to hear that influence still going down.
Yeah,
I was actually Paul McCartney for my work Halloween thing the other day, so yeah,
that's great.
I definitely love the Beatles.
That's always a great costume. Speaking
of concerts, do you have like any favorite concert or like a favorite memory from your time with the band?
Yeah, there was a place called the Newport Music Hall in Ohio that we were always just very excited to play every time we were able to book it. I think we did it 2 or 3 times while I was with them, but the Newport was kind of like the biggest venue before you got to like an arena. So we got to do that quite a few times.
It looks cool. I saw it on some videos.
Yeah.
And I probably saw you playing there. I mean, I was YouTubing. I was trying to figure out how far back you went when I realized that there were other members to the band. And I saw some video, I believe, of you playing. And that's actually, I didn't realize that you guys were doing Trees so early.
Trees is one of the very first songs that existed as a 21 Pilots song.
I was going to ask what was the last song that you guys, before that song came along, what you guys closed with. But hearing you just say that, it sounds like that was from day one, the closer.
Yeah. Before we had even met Chris, Tyler and I were kind of collaborating on Trees way back. Writing some of the keyboard lines together. I remember sitting.
Thank you, man. I love that track so much.
Oh,
thanks for being a part of all of it, man.
No, it's so exciting to me to see how many people are listening to his music now. I mean, his music is so good; it should be heard by everybody in the world, and now it is. So.
I agree. I agree. The messages behind the songs are great, man, and the community that it's created too. Like you go online and you see like so many people like in just various groups. And however the music helps them, and then you got people listening to this podcast and just all these other things, and those things would not be there if it weren't for the music to bring them together. It's really neat.
Yeah, and it's very neat to see. I'm privileged to be able to see the community at each show still to this day, and it's really amazing to see how much passion there is for this band.
Yeah,
and how much passion there is for this music. I mean, the fans of 21 Pilots are diehard fans like I've almost never seen before.
I know it does, but it's got to amaze you how big it's gotten.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we kind of, every band dreams of something like this, and I was talking to a buddy the other day who was also in a band, and he said, you have to kind of dream that big to motivate yourself to get through some of the hard parts of being in a band.
Yeah.
Like
it's not easy.
Like driving through the night in a 15-passenger van with, never sleeping, never getting to shower when you're doing a little tour.
When you guys did self-titled, were some of the tracks from Regional at Best around at that point, and you just kind of didn't use them for that album and decided we'll come back to this when it gets to be time?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's several tracks on Regional at Best that either were kind of reimagined from self-titled, or that we had been playing in shows, but that we didn't put on self-titled. There's several tracks. In fact, I think Trees is actually ended up on Regional at Best instead of self-titled.
Yeah, it's on there.
Yeah.
And I know like that track Goner.
Yeah.
Ended up as the closer for Blurry Face. And speaking to Chris, he said that he's heard stuff like Tyler would have a segment that didn't have anything else to fit around it, and he's heard it pop up on Blurry Face and like things like that, which is natural. I mean, I would expect that, especially if it's a good part. That it shows you how long sometimes it takes to put songs together. And I know from personal experience, I had one that took a decade, so it can take a long time to craft that.
Yeah, I remember several years before Goner came out on Blurry Face, Tyler and Mark did a little short video that included the chorus of Goner, which I think may have been all that he had written at that point, or I'm not sure. But
the one of him out on the street?
Yeah.
That one on the street with like the accordion thing that sounds like a noose, even though it's not a noose. It sounds like one.
Yeah.
That was I like that video a lot.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to hear what he did with that track. And I like that though. I like the idea of that. Okay, I've had these songs and they were from like prior to being signed by Fueled by Ramen, and he's still holding on to them and not saying, oh, that was this is pre-fame music. Like it's time to stick with, there's always like a fork in the road, and I'm happy it seems like there isn't. Like if something sounds good, I'm going to use it. And I like that he kept that song around.
Yeah. Well, Tyler's he is always writing lyrics, just almost at any given time. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's got lyrics that he wrote when he was 19 that have yet to emerge into a 21 Pilot song, but they'll probably show up sooner or later.
How long was it prior to self-titled and Regional at Best that you can recall that you guys decided, all right, it's time to get back in there and cutting? I know you guys in there, meaning back to your the house you guys were at, but it's time to get to work on album number 2. Do you remember how long it might have been? Like, so obviously self-titled, you released it, you had the release party, and you guys played shows.
Yeah, I don't really know. I had left by the time Regional at Best came out. So,
but during the recording process, though, you were still there for a little bit of it, correct?
Yeah.
'Cause I know it sounded like Chris was, but then Chris told me that neither him nor Josh played on Regional at Best. It was all, sequenced by Tyler in the programs.
Yeah, a lot of it was done digitally, to my memory. I really don't remember a lot of the songs kind of running together in between albums. So
that's okay.
I can't even remember right now which songs are on which album.
Yeah. Well, that takes us to a kind of a the one thing that obviously everybody will probably bothers you and asks about. What point did you decide, okay, I'm gonna leave, and why did
Yeah.
you decide that it was time for you to leave?
There was a lot of things. When we first started, I remember we sat down and kind of gave ourselves kind of a loose time frame. You know, let's totally pour ourselves into this band for, I think it was 2 years, and then evaluate where we are and how far we'd come and what we thought we could do beyond that. And so I think it was right around the 2 year mark that I started thinking, I wanted to go back to school. And on top of that, I didn't have two pennies to rub together. I just was not able to make enough money while we were trying to play shows. And that was getting in the way of me being able to pay my rent. And that was getting in the way of us being able to book shows because, I was having to work and not turn down work, for a show. So it really became hard to fit it all into, to the work week.
Right.
So, and I remember I got real sick for a while too. We were still trying to play shows, and I had some kind of bronchial thing going on for what seemed like a couple months, and I was just kind of getting worn down by it, and I had some family in North Carolina who offered, because I had just gotten accepted to a school in North Carolina, and I was able to stay there for free. So I think that kind of was the final input into my decision to step away and kind of move on with my life.
Right. Had to be a tough decision to make.
It was a tough decision. It was not a popular decision. Josh had just come along, I think a couple weeks before that, and we may have played 2 or 3 shows together. And so he just jumped into this project, and now, another member was leaving, and I know he and Tyler must have felt kind of betrayed, I think. But
yeah, it's not easy in those situations. I know when Chris did you have any idea that Chris was thinking of leaving, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we did. I think there was quite a few conversations leading up to it before either of us left. Neither one of us really sprung it on them. It was kind of a build-up that we were trying to work out a way for it to make it work, and then, in both our situations, we just couldn't make it work.
Right. When he said that, like, I'm leaving, guys, in your head, were you kind of like, oh crap, I'm going to be leaving too? Like this is going to be tough, man. Did any of that kind of cross in, or nah, it didn't bother you?
I don't think so. I hadn't made my decision that I was going to leave, or I don't even think I was really even leaning in that direction. I think I'd thought about it, but I was still excited about what we were doing.
Right.
I never stopped being excited about what we were doing.
Well, of course.
It's just at a certain point, I just couldn't find a way that I could continue it.
Yeah, life is, life circumstances come calling, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have? I'll ask the same thing that I asked Chris. Do you have any regrets having left and seeing kind of like how it's kind of what it's become?
No. Today, no, I don't have any. I love what I'm doing today, and I'm very privileged to still be a part of the project. I am a part of the tour to this day. But no, I mean, I wish at the time, there were things that I wish that I had handled better. And I was just a kid. I wasn't good at managing money. I wasn't good at living on my own. I think I was 19 when we started this thing. I was just young.
It's not easy, man. I mean, it's nice though that you are still, involved.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Like, how you went to college, you took the offer, you went and lived with family.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you kind of get tied back into the 21 Pilots experience?
So about a year and a half after I moved, I ended up moving back to Columbus to try to continue some classes there. And when I got back to Columbus, I had still been friends with the guys, still been keeping in touch with the guys. And, it turned out that they needed a roommate again at the band house. So I moved back in there,
Oh, cool.
hung out with the guys a lot, and a lot of the people that they were hanging out with then, they were starting to progress a little bit. You know, they were a little bigger then than they had been when I left, and and they were touring a lot. So Tyler and Josh weren't there too often, but I was around when they were, and we got to talking a lot. And the guy who was kind of handling their merchandise at the time was kind of moving into a bigger role with their touring crew. So he presented the idea to bring on somebody to do merchandise specifically, and I readily accepted at the time. I was thrilled to be considered, and it wasn't a real big thing when I started. I remember the first time I went out with them to do merchandise. We went away for a weekend, and I did 2 or 3 shows at colleges, not real big, and then we came home. We just had one bus, and they just blew up so quickly at every step that the very next time that I went out with them was on a major headline tour. So it was like,
That's got to be crazy.
yeah,
It's got to be so crazy, man.
yeah. So, and we've all kind of grown with our roles. There's a lot of, I wasn't a professional merchandiser when I started. So I had a lot of learning to do.
You weren't a bass player either when you started, man.
I wasn't basically, yeah. You just have to adapt sometimes.
Yeah, that's right, man.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. So what merchandising, what is that? Is that like you know the stock of how much we have of one shirt and you keep us, you replenish, but you also know what's selling, like that kind of thing, like what's popular and like what's involved with that position?
Yeah. So we travel with a whole store now of merchandise, t-shirts and hoodies are the real popular ones, and music and hats and what have you.
Right.
I just maintain the inventory. I supply it, or I provide it to people at each turn that are going to sell it at each place that we play. And
do you play any role in like selecting like the image that's going to go on the shirt or anything of that nature?
No, they've got a whole creative team that works behind the scenes on that stuff. I am there to help get it distributed.
Do you go to every show now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool, man.
We were touring Blurryface for
a long time.
Coming up on 3 years, I think.
Yeah, a very long
seemed
time.
like, yeah.
It's cool, but I was like, I'm selfish, so I was like, oh man, I'm ready for some more music. It's been like 3 years, like, and I know it needs to get written, but still, I'm like, but then also when the date's announced, I'm like, all right, I'm going, of course, I'm not gonna turn that down. But the other thing that's smart with that is you strike while it's hot.
Yeah.
There's a huge demand for it, and everything's fickle, so you never know if it's going to be. I personally think that it's going to be just as big, in the future, but it's like you never know though.
Mm-hmm.
You never know. You could wake up tomorrow and things are completely different. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the kind of the nature of the beast with any kind of art, because people's tastes change on a dime.
Correct.
And so you kind of have to work in the moment. You have to gauge your crowd.
Definitely.
Try to get a feel of what is still hot and adapt.
It's grown very fast, Nick, like you said. The first time, I know when I first heard of them and they were coming around the area, it was obviously these little things where they would play for like 20 minutes. And then they finally did a headline show at a small venue on South Street, and they were ecstatic on stage. They were just pumped that they sold it out. And, within the next, not even like a year later, they were doing 2 nights at the Tower Theater, which is significantly bigger. And then the last leg of the tour that you guys did when you hit the East Coast, you guys were doing like New York, and you were doing like the Prudential Center up in North Jersey. So, filling arenas and stuff. And the time span that it's gone has been so short. That's what blows my mind as to how short how short of a time span it's taken for them to get so big.
Well, and the interesting thing was a lot of it took place just during Blurryface. Blurryface set the stage for a what they call in the music industry a meteoric rise.
Yeah.
We were playing we were playing smaller clubs still when I started, and then we were off for a couple of weeks, and then when we went back out on the road, we were in bigger buildings, and then we did that for a couple months, and then had a few weeks off, and then we went back out, and we were doing bigger buildings. It got bigger every time we went out on the road.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. They did a poll. I forget what magazine now. Now it sounds phony that I said that. Oh, no, it was Billboard. Billboard did a poll on their website, and the number one band requested for the Super Bowl was 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. I was like, whoa.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. It'd be awesome. But, it's such a build-up. I mean, I can't recall following a band where the day after their final show is done, people are saying, okay, album number 3 on Fueled by Ramen, oh, we're ready, it's going to drop in a week or whatever. People all speculate it's going to drop this year. I'm like, yo, everybody needs to calm down. I've never seen it like that before. It's like they can't have a break. I'm like, let these guys take a break, man. And I've never seen it before with a band where everybody pulls everything apart to the point of like Jenna wearing a yellow dress and everybody thinks like the next album's going to be all yellow. Like it's wild, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. They love the fan base. They love coming up with theories based on what they see. It's really fun to kind of gauge where the fan base thinks things are going to go, and then kind of see where it actually goes.
Yeah. I get tweets and it's like, oh, so-and-so has a Twitter account and there's a countdown or something on it. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, you people need to stop. Like, just chill. Go about your day, man. It'll happen. We'll get the announcement. It was some account, and it's like got no followers. And it's just like, it's not going to happen that way. I don't think it will. I could be wrong. I have been wrong many times in life. But I don't think it's going to happen that way.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is they're excited about it.
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely. 100%.
Yeah.
The fan base, the way it is, I mentioned this to Chris, that I guess when you guys were playing, there's a following that almost is like obsessive over the band, and looks at them like the pastors at like a mega church. It's very interesting, and I was curious if that kind of frenzied interest in the band existed when you got. Did you see that when you were in the band at all, or did it start at any point when you were there? Because it's crazy how it's looked at. I mean, they treat the band like it's they're the followers of the band, and I was curious as to when that kind of developed.
Yeah, that was going on when I was there to a certain extent. There were, we had people saying that we were their absolute favorite band of all time, and that that our songs, Tyler's songs that he had written had just changed their lives. That all existed then, as the same way it exists now. At the time, we didn't have people, dressing like Tyler Joseph and getting tattoos that are just like his tattoo, stuff like that.
Right.
It wasn't really any of that then, but the fans were just as enthusiastic, I think, at the time. There's people that got into 21 Pilots music were very into 21 Pilots music.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah. It's very interesting that unique that you, Chris, and Tyler are, very religious, and you guys didn't. You guys didn't drink, from what I can understand. And it's interesting, as I commented to you before, that Chris wasn't even part of that, friendship. He came in after the fact, and that you guys had the same kind of like values and and desires in life and stuff like that. And it's very unique. It's just crazy how that happened. And it seems like throughout this whole 21 Pilots like ascent, it's like there's like an angel watching over the band. There's always somebody dropped in at the right spot,
Yeah, there's been a lot of definitely the project has been well looked after. And that can be attributed to a lot of things. We have a lot of very great mentorship, just from people that we knew then, and now there's just a lot more of them now. Mentors and people to provide guidance about maintaining an image and a brand.
Yeah, definitely. You guys with the music. You made a conscious decision not to go the Christian rock route, from what I can understand, because the music seems to have definitely, especially with self-titled, it definitely speaks to a higher power in a lot of the lyrics, and kind of, addresses that more than I feel like any of the following albums.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of discussions about that, or was it kind of just like, hey, do you want to be Christian rock? Nah, I'm good. Okay, cool. We won't pursue that kind of label.
There were some discussions early on about that. I think I can't speak for what Tyler's vision is. Certainly not now, but
Of course not.
But we part of what we really wanted to achieve through our music, and Tyler will still say this, often now, is we just wanted to make people think. We didn't want songs that were just catchy and enjoyable just for the sake of being musically enjoyable. We wanted to. I know, listening to Tyler's lyrics a lot, even somebody that was playing the songs, I learned a lot about myself through his lyrics and his vision, because they're poignant. Yes. And they're always meaningful, always. And that was really the goal, as far as, how we wanted people to see us. We just wanted the songs to mean something to somebody rather than just a catchy tune.
Yeah, I think that sets you guys above a lot of other acts that are out there. I know the music is awesome. Obviously, it gets your head bobbing, but like you said, the lyrics are deep, and there's a lot of thought put into them as well. Yeah. A track like Car Radio, I know if you don't listen to it and you just hear little bits and pieces of it, I know, I've heard people and they're like, what is this song even about? You're talking about a car radio, not having a car radio in your car? Come on. And I'm like, no, you got to listen deeper. It's like a metaphor, and it's that kind of brilliance to take objects like that and to make it more of a layered experience, within the song. I love that. Yeah. I think it's great.
Well, and life is hard. Life is really hard for all of us. And yes. 21 Pilots has really drawn an enormous amount of the kind of the younger population today. And life is very hard for young people today, I think. And whether they derive something spiritual or religious from the songs is, that's great. There's a part of the thing about art is, you can derive from it whatever it speaks to you. And I think that's a really cool thing about music is, a lot of times no two people are going to take the exact same message the same way, but they're both going to be positively affected by it. Hopefully. That was our goal.
I think you can see that with the amount of people that make their own art and say, it's because of you that, I'm alive. I don't know what that means. It's different for everybody else.
Yeah.
I know for me, I've told the story before where I got into 21 Pilots because I worked at a company for years and I did not like working there. At the same time, I'm a father, I have a wife, I have 2 beautiful kids, I have a mortgage and all this, and it's like that weight of the world feels like it's on your shoulders. In that time period, I stumbled upon 21 Pilots, and the lyrics spoke to me. Like Kitchen Sink is my favorite song that 21 Pilots does, and just the idea of a kitchen sink to me is not a kitchen sink to you, and those are all your problems, and that, the beginning of your meaning and all that would be defeating your demons. Like that is, to me, amazing. And that's what got me into you guys and just started to look deep into the lyrics and stuff like that.
Sure.
Which is why I love that you were part of that. And, because it helped get me out of just like my crappy day. Like I'd put it on going in. If I could, I'd listen to it at work, and then going home, I'd listen to it and rinse and repeat to get you through the work week. Yeah. So it's little stuff like that, man, that like, I think when you're making it, you don't necessarily realize that it's going to have that effect.
Sure. Yeah. Well, sometimes, you don't even have to get the answers to all your problems. Sometimes it's enough, just to know that somebody has been there, or that somebody else is going through something too. And
right
in that, it kind of can create a sense of unity. And I think his music has really done that for the young culture today.
So him playing bass, did you help him out at all with that?
No, not at all. he started tinkering around with bass, I think, after I left, of course, and but while I was away, and so I think I was just as surprised as everybody else was the very first time that he went out on stage with a bass.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, what? This guy? He could, I was like, I don't remember him ever playing bass in anything else I've ever looked at online. And I thought it was pretty cool, man. I'm like, there you go, nice. And to learn it on like the world stage, and have to
Hmm.
be, it's not like you have a couple years to like kind of hone your craft. It's like you're out there, man. And it's, you know,
Yeah,
definitely. I
yeah.
would think it looks cool though
Oh,
visually.
sure. Yeah, yeah. It kind of fills that void of seeing two people on stage but only one playing an instrument. For
Yeah,
some people, well, some people are watching. They're like, "There's one guy playing drums. Where's all the sound coming from?" And for some people, I think it kind of helps fill that void. But
yeah.
it's also just something that he loves to do. He loves to play.
Music is such a therapeutic thing, and it's awesome that to see him embrace just like all these different ways of playing and just the bass and all that. Where do you see the band going? Like do you have any idea? Just like how high is it going to get? Like where do you sound the sound of the next album? Like where do you think he's going to go with any of it?
I really don't know. I'm really in the same boat as everybody else who's waiting on the next song to come out. I'm excited about it. I'm 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 looking forward to it. I don't know what to expect. I really don't. But I do know it's going to be good
Oh yeah,
because I know Tyler Joseph, and he doesn't put out anything that isn't good. So
he definitely connects with everybody, and it a lot of pressure, a lot of
yeah,
pressure. But this fan base is so dedicated, and I think anything he puts out is going to be good and have a lot of time put into it, and I think that the fan base definitely it appreciates it. I mean, those deepness of the lyrics and all that, the time that goes into it. Even if it took him like 3 years to put another album, this fan base would totally be, would love it 100%.
no, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, and you can never please 100% of people, but
No,
but
you can't
I
let it
think
bother you.
all no, not at all, and no, songwriters have to overcome that in order to put out a new record. And but I think true 21 Pilots fans will be excited and thrilled to hear whatever comes next.
Do you get hit up a lot by people online? Just asking you the same questions over and over again?
Yeah, yeah, every now and then. Not as often as I used to, but yeah, it still comes up every now and then. And of course, with being part of the tour, I get a lot of that out at shows too. A lot of kind of longer fans who have been around longer will recognize me a
Right.
lot still.
When you go to these other venues, are you working the merch table, or are you like actually just kind of backstage watching the show? You kind of did your job.
It depends on the night. Um, I'm generally not at the merch table anymore. The whole night. I pop up every now and then, kind of supervising, but I do get to spend a lot of time backstage. I do get to see the show a lot of nights if I like to. So
Do you get out and check out the towns and stuff where you guys are at?
if we have time, I like to do that, especially on days off. When we have a day off of a show, I do a lot of going out on the town and just seeing what these cities have to offer. But on day of show, a lot of times it's just so hectic and busy that I don't even get out of the arena. I tell people a lot of times I've been to a lot of cities, but I couldn't tell you a thing about a lot of them.
I've never been backstage in an arena. Are there like a ton of amenities? I assume so. I mean, like you could probably live there, I guess, if you needed
Yeah, you probably could. Um, a lot of them are sports arenas,
Right.
so there's showers uh, and there's couches, and they've got a lot of really cool stuff to make it feel cozy and homey down there.
I bet.
Because being away from home for a long time, you start to crave some of those things.
Yeah, it's a tough time, man, to be on the road that long. I
Yeah.
mean, so you're in Georgia now.
Yes.
How was your place after everything? Was everything a okay after?
Yeah. Everything was good. I've lived here for coming up on, well, let's see, about almost a year and a half.
Okay.
And I've been through 2 hurricanes since I've been here. So uh,
Wow.
the first one I did not evacuate. This most recent one I did, but it was funny 'cause the storm changed course last minute, and it turned out that where I evacuated to was actually probably a worse place to be than where I started.
What are you
But
gonna do?
yeah, what are you gonna do? You can't predict the weather. But yeah, no damage, nothing too serious for me
That's good.
anyway. For me anyway. So
No, that's good. I had family down in Florida when stuff like that was going on, and I
yeah,
saw the people on the highway trying to get out, and it was like crazy. Yeah, it was crazy.
yeah, it does create a lot of panic.
Yeah, it I can only. I mean, I haven't been in a scenario like that, but it definitely is scary. It looks scary to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so when 21 Pilots isn't doing its touring, uh, you're what are you up to other than traveling, checking out the universe, and all the cool stuff that it has to offer? What do you like to do in your spare time?
Well, I've been married for a while now, and my wife and I just got back from Ireland. We took a trip to Ireland a couple weeks ago, which was pretty amazing. I'd never been there before. Um, and we're trying to get a business started. We like to bake and cook, so we're trying to get a little bakery or cafe type of place started up. So we're kind of in the market for a storefront for that. Um, we're doing it out of our home right now. We're just through church and neighborhood and work friends. We're we're taking orders from people. So trying to get some business in over the holiday, and
That's
then
cool.
kind of hopefully work up to having an actual store.
That's really neat. Have you like got a name or anything picked out?
No, not at the time. It's we haven't. It's kind of a new idea.
Right.
So, well, it's not really a new idea. We've wanted to do it for a while, but we've really recently started to get serious about it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I wish you the best with that.
Thank you, thank you. I am excited about it. That's just what we like to do.
Man, who doesn't love baked stuff? Pies and all that, man.
Yeah, we do pies, we do salad dressings, we do like wing sauces. Um, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping something comes of it.
Are you doing dog grooming too? Did I
Yeah,
misunderstand that?
yeah. Part
Okay.
time. I just been bathing and grooming dogs. Um,
Okay.
I we have 3 dogs, so I'm just a dog lover.
What kind of dogs do you
I've
have?
got a Labradoodle. I've got a lab mixed with something I don't really know what, and a husky.
Oh, cool. Cool, man. Cute. Yeah, I love dogs too.
Yeah,
I love animals.
yeah, yeah. I do. I do. They're great.
Yeah, especially dogs. I mean, you come home and it's like they're so excited to see you, no matter how bad your day was or any of that kind of stuff. So, I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah. Dogs are just so like every once in a while you almost forget that they're animals, because they just seem to be kind of in tune with you sometimes.
Right.
They seem to know your body language and your expressions, and
Yeah, they're just one of the family.
they're just yeah, they're family. They're great
And they
companions.
start to, isn't it like owners start to look like their dogs after a while? Isn't that what they
Yeah,
say?
yeah. I've never been able to grow very good facial hair, so I don't know if it's working for
No,
me.
I didn't think I was. I grew a beard last year for the very first time, but I figure you got to do it once in your life, man. You got to grow the beard once in your life. So, you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
no, that's awesome, dude. I'm so happy though that you did this, and it's just been so surreal to get to talk to guys that connect it, with creating this big giant machine
yeah.
that exists nowadays.
Yeah, it's really something, and I very much appreciate you having me on. It's great to talk about it and tell the story. I see every now and then, and probably Chris does too, a lot of people speculating online about how things were back in the day and how things went with Chris and I. But
Right.
I think that what you've done, I got to listen to the podcast you did with Chris, and it was cool
Oh,
for
thanks,
him to
man.
be able to tell his story, the true story to people. So
I really appreciate that because I mean it's so I mean I'm going through puberty again. It's so like it's so I feel so privileged to get to talk to you guys because when you guys said you would do it, it's just been so crazy to think like, oh, I'm talking to these guys that were there, and I mean I'm 35, man, and when I was in high school, I was in a band, and like our whole dream was to make it big, and like we would just record at home and all this other stuff, and I would write the songs. So it's like, I guess like you kind of like identify with like people, and like I identify with that. So I'm like, oh, what were they thinking when they were doing it? Because like obviously I didn't blow up and have a super successful career doing it, but it's cool to ask people who were involved in making something that sounded similar to what I was doing into a crazy success, and to kind of pick their brains and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's been a real joy to get to do it.
Yeah.
And and people listen, so that's
Yeah.
cool that people actually like care about it too. So
I think people really like to know what goes on behind the scenes of stuff like this, because I've talked to a lot of people who say, tell me about what it is that you do. What's it like to be on tour? Because I've never met anybody that has done what you do. So people are really interested, and especially with this band. This band just has so much buzz around it and such dedicated fans. So it's really special to be part of.
yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful that you're a part of it and that you're willing to talk to me. And I'm gonna want to have you back if you're cool, because I know other questions are gonna come up. If you don't mind, that'd be super cool to get a chance to kind of follow up in whatever comes up after this.
I would love to come back, absolutely. And just so you know, you're not alone in the love of Oasis. Tyler and I actually just recently were checking out some live videos of Oasis, just
Are you serious?
admiring excellent musicians.
I love, like, recent as in like within the last year.
Yeah, within the last probably month, I think. I can't remember when that was.
Dude,
but yeah, we were checking out some videos of Oasis playing shows. They're just the best.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah. They are. I love them so much, man. I have all their singles. Like I said, I'm like a diehard fan, and I've seen them so many times live. I'm taking my mom to go see. When I lived at home, I listened to them all the time. So my mom was like, I moved out obviously a while ago. I've been married for almost 10 years, and she was like, I don't get to hear that music anymore in the house. And I'm like, Mom, you can use streaming on the computer. And she's like, it's not the same. I liked it better when you would have it playing through your radio. And so I'm like, okay. And so I got tickets front row when he comes to Philly next year.
Man.
And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, it's the day before Valentine's Day. I was like, Mom, as a present, I want to take you and we can go check it out. And my mom was like ecstatic. So,
that's so cool.
Yeah, dude. I took her to see 21 Pilots.
Did you?
You're probably there when we saw them for the 2 nights at the Tower Theater. She came with me the second night. My wife came with me the first night, and we have kids, so she was like, I'll watch the kids. I took my mom. She'd never heard them, so she kind of heard me talking about them and heard like a song, but she'd never really heard any of their other stuff. So we go. She loved it, and I was like, hey, can we wait and meet the band? We can try. And she was like, yeah, we can do that. So we hung out for like an hour, and sure enough, Tyler and Josh came out. We got our picture taken with them, and it was super cool. My mom fell in love with them after that. My mom thought they were so nice and cute and just like polite to her and stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've met a lot of people who like they've gotten their parents and even their grandparents into 21 Pilots. So it's the demographic of people that you see coming to shows. Really, it's a lot of younger kids, but their parents are coming along decked out in their 21 Pilot shirts, and sometimes even their grandparents. So
it's a great message though that they're sending out. There's so much negativity, Nick, in just the world, but also like in music too. Like you hear a lot of the stuff that's out there, and it's using profanity, and it's talking negative, like talking bad about women and this and that, like, and it's ridiculous. And I never really cared, really didn't bother me. But then when I became a parent, my daughter's turning 7, my son's 5.
Sure.
I it kind of, my ears were more sensitive to it, I guess is
Sure.
the best way
Sure.
to put it. So to have 21 Pilots, man, and be able to play that in front of my kids when I'm driving the car and they sing the songs, that means a lot to a parent, and then to be able to share that experience when they get older and take them to a show.
Yeah,
so,
you're absolutely
awesome.
right. I've had a lot of parents tell me that they're so thrilled that their kids have something to listen to that they go crazy for, and also has a great positive message.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Well, all right, brother, I'm gonna let you go.
Okay,
and
all right.
Like I said, I can't keep saying how appreciative I was that you talked to me, and let me know if there's anything you want me to plug in the description. If you want me to plug your Twitter handle. I'm assuming you do. I don't know if you do. Do you?
Yeah, go ahead and plug Twitter handle.
Okay, I didn't know if you felt like privacy wise.
No, go ahead and do that. I don't care. I don't use Twitter a whole lot, but I would like to keep up with some of the feedback with this podcast and some whatever
Yeah,
else that you
definitely.
do. I like to read what people say about it.
Oh,
There was a lot
definitely.
of great buzz around talk you had with Chris, and that was fun
Yeah,
to
that went
read. Yeah,
crazy. That went nuts. I was on vacation. Nick, I was on vacation. I was down the shore and then Monday came up and I was like, okay, a Sunday night I was up until probably 2 in the morning trying to finish it up. And Monday came and we were going to the beach. And I was like, hold on, I got to upload this and blah, 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 blah. So I get it up, we go to the beach, and all of a sudden my phone was blowing up. While, like, I could only check it every once in a while because my kids were in the ocean and, like, so I checked it and it was exploding with notifications. And Mark Eshelman tweeted out that he enjoyed the episode. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Mark knows I exist. And which is cool,
yeah,
because I have great respect for him. I mean, the videos, I feel that he was basically at that time when they kind of blew up. I feel like he was the third member of the
yeah.
band. He was like the George Martin or whatever of the
Oh
group. I mean,
yeah, such a huge
you know,
contributing factor to why they've been successful. Huge.
awesome. I once again I appreciate it, Nick, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, man. This was a fantastic talk.
Hey, you too, Christopher. Thank you.
Well, I hope everybody enjoyed that conversation. I know that Nick is such a nice guy, and he can't wait to come back on the show. And he was so easy to talk to. And that is like, seems like everybody that I've talked to within this kind of venture has been that way. So, super cool. I can't wait to see what he does in the future with his business ventures. And definitely be sure to hit him up on Twitter and let him know what you thought. And I know he would get a kick out of that. I've been doing highlighted albums the last few episodes, and for this one, I actually don't have an album, and I forgot to ask Nick when we were talking, but instead I'm going to use a song. This is something I've been listening to a lot the last week or two. It's by Khalid, and it's Young, Dumb, and Broke. Check that out. I think you guys would like it. Half of you probably already know it or more, but check it out. It's awesome. I listen to it continuously throughout the work week, and there's an Imagine Dragons Thunder Young Dumb and Broke medley on YouTube. I would urge you to check that out. That's pretty cool too. And so that's the highlighted song of this episode. Before I close this out, there were a couple of things I wanted to touch on. The first is regarding guests. I know who you guys want to hear from. You guys have reached out to me through social media throughout the year, and I see it on a daily to weekly basis who you want to come on the show. And I've said this occasionally. I think the best way to convince someone that talking to me is a decent way to spend an hour or two is not just for me to reach out to them, but for you guys to reach out to them through all of the social media channels. I think if they see that, it would maybe persuade them a little bit more than just me, myself. So that's kind of my answer to that. And secondly, I wanted to say that anybody who sent questions last month, I have them. What I'm going to do is, obviously, my original idea didn't happen, so I'm going to hold on to them for another episode when there's no guest, and I can just focus on them. And it kind of would fit better, too, and instead of being like a jarring thing where it's like out of left field, there's like questions and stuff like that before a guest comes on. So that's what I'm going to do with that. I know I had the weekly ramble, had one episode, and I was going to do it like on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, I started that right when the holidays hit and didn't realize that my time would be consumed with so much other stuff. So I do plan on trying to do the weekly ramble again. I may rebrand it, I'm not sure, but it is something that I've thought about, and I do want to revisit that. So that's pretty much it. All right, this was a big episode. Nick Thomas, original bassist and founding member of the band. There were some great moments during that conversation, and I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I look forward to reading your feedback on all the social media and seeing what you guys thought of it. I mean, this was a big get, and I was super excited. And the fact that I landed Chris and Nick, to me, I mean, it says that people are enjoying this podcast and they really like what's going on. And I look forward to what the future holds. I guess that's pretty much it. I hope everybody has a fantastic start to their 2018, and I will definitely be checking in on you soon. So, all right, talk to you later, guys.